Think Florida's real estate is perpetually booming. Think again. Behind the sun-drenched palm trees and pastel homes, a silent tremor is growing. Certain Florida cities are heading straight for a devastating housing crash in 2025, and the warning signs are blinking a vivid, undeniable red. Home prices are plummeting, insurance costs are exploding, and housing inventory is suffocating the market. Is your city about to take a terrifying nosedive? Could that cherished dream home transform into a financial nightmare? Stay with us. We're counting down the top 10 Florida cities where the housing market is cracking wide open. This isn't just a slight dip, it's a full-blown shakeup, a potential real estate crash that could flip the entire Sunshine State upside down. 10. Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, once a shimmering jewel of a beachside city, is now hitting some serious real estate turbulence. If you believed this coastal paradise was immune to a housing crash, prepare for a chilling reality. In 2025, Fort Lauderdale is flashing warning signs everywhere you look. The number of homes on the market has surged by over 80% year over year. Listings that once vanished in days are now languishing for months. Homes that commanded $650,000 in 2023 are struggling to sell at $580,000, revealing a stark decline in home prices. But the biggest threat comes from escalating insurance costs. Coastal risk is pushing homeowners' premiums past an astonishing $7,000 a year, a staggering 50% increase in just 2 years. Add HOA fees topping $500 a month, and potential buyers are backing off hard. Even investors, once the lifeblood of this vibrant housing market, are fleeing. Nearly 30% of investment condos purchased during the boom are now listed below their original acquisition price. Even Airbnb hosts are hurting, with occupancy rates down 12% from 2023. Rising costs, falling demand, and an overwhelming surge in listings. That's the potent recipe for a textbook market crash. Fort Lauderdale might still look like $1 million postcard, but beneath the swaying palms, this real estate market is audibly cracking. 9. Cape Coral. Cape Coral, Florida, affectionately known as the waterfront wonderland, isn't just floating in 2025, it's alarmingly sinking. Once a bustling relocation hotspot, Cape Coral now faces a sharp and undeniable housing market cool down. Home prices are down 5 to 7% year over year, and homes are lingering on the market for 70-plus days. Why 2 words: overbuilding and insurance. Housing inventory has exploded to nearly 4,000 active listings, more than doubling 2023's count. Flood insurance near the canals and Gulf now ranges from $8,000 to $12,000 annually, with some insurers pulling out of the region entirely. Add in $30,000 utility hookup fees in expansion areas, and the city's once affordable dream is dissolving before residents' eyes. Locals are increasingly priced out, their wages failing to keep pace. The economy, heavily centered on construction and retirees, simply isn't growing fast enough to sustain this artificial housing bubble. Cape Coral in 2025 remains scenic, but its real estate foundations are seriously sinking. Ocala. Ocala, Florida's esteemed horse capital, is galloping headfirst not into glory, but into a significant housing slowdown. From just 800 listings in 2022 to nearly 3,000 in 2025, Ocala's supply has jumped by a staggering 275%. Meanwhile, demand has evaporated. Home prices that once hit $310,000 are now dipping to $275,000, and properties are sitting for an average of 56 days, a dramatic increase from 19 days just 2 years prior. Overbuilding has hit hard. Entire subdivisions, especially in Silver Spring Shores, now sit half-empty. Grim monuments to developers who banked on a post-pandemic boom, but drastically overshot the mark. And affordability? It's largely gone. Insurance premiums have doubled, while wages have stagnated. The average salary sits at $47,000, starkly contrasted against median home prices of $270,000. This disparity is a clear housing market prediction for trouble. Ocala's housing market in 2025 may still retain its charm, but it's built on increasingly shaky ground. 7. Tampa. Tampa, Florida, once the undisputed crown jewel of Florida's real estate boom, is now facing a brutal reality check in 2025. Not long ago, frenzied bidding wars were the norm. Homes evaporated off the market. In days, buyers lined up, and home prices soared. This year, the story is dramatically different. Housing inventory has skyrocketed from just over 3,000 active listings in early 2023 to more than 5,400 today. An 80% surge that's flooding the housing market with choices buyers no longer want. The overbuilding spree has finally caught up. Homes that once drew multiple offers are now sitting, some lingering, for 50 days or more, as sellers slash home prices in desperation. Mortgage rates hovering at 6.8% have forced monthly payments to skyrocket from around $1,800 to over $2,600 for the same home pricing out entire segments of first-time buyers. The cost of holding onto property is equally brutal. Property taxes and insurance premiums have surged more than 40%. To insure a bayfront home in Tampa now runs $500 or more per year, even in areas that haven't flooded in years. Even seasoned investors are cutting their losses. Some are dumping properties for 10% less than they paid, desperate to escape before the housing market crash deepens. The buzz has vanished, the momentum has shifted, and the real estate market is recoiling. If you're in Tampa, you might want to brace for impact. The sunshine's still bright, but the housing market is losing power. Want more housing market update insights like this? Hit subscribe to Housing Crash Channel for real estate shifts, economic red flags, and insider insights before the headlines catch up. 6. Jacksonville. Jacksonville, Florida's largest city by land, once prided itself on being a safe, steady real estate bet. But in 2025, that stability is fracturing under immense pressure. Let's break down the housing market. Prediction. Active listings have nearly doubled, jumping from just over 2,200 to nearly 4,000 in less than 2 years. This represents the highest housing inventory Jacksonville has seen in more than a decade. It's not just a fluke, it's the direct result of overzealous building in booming suburbs like Orange Park and Middleburg, where developers made massive bets on population growth that simply hasn't materialized. And the buyers. They're vanishing. With mortgage rates nearing 7%, what used to be a manageable $300 to $1,000 home now feels like a $450 to $1,000 burden once financing kicks in. Combine that with soaring insurance premiums, which are up 60%, and the cost of owning a home in Jacksonville is no longer affordable for most working families. According to Fitch Ratings, the city's housing stock is overvalued by 26%, a major red flag for a looming real estate crash. Investors, in fact, are exacerbating the problem. Roughly 1 in every 5 homes on the market in Jacksonville right now is investor-owned, and many of those properties are getting hit with deep price cuts. Some are selling below appraised value as landlords look to liquidate before cascading losses kick in. Furthermore, job losses in Jacksonville's freight and logistics sectors have shaken the local economy. Port traffic is down, incomes are dipping, and fewer people can qualify for a mortgage. Homes are sitting longer, averaging over 50 days on the market, up from just 21 days 2 years ago. It's a market in limbo, too expensive for locals, too unstable for investors, and too risky for newcomers. Jacksonville might still boast wide river views and a growing downtown, but in the real estate world, 2025 is shaping up to be a year of reckoning. So, if you're watching the housing market from the sidelines, or inside the storm, don't miss what's next. Subscribe to Housing Crash Channel for dramatic breakdowns, regional deep dives, and honest real estate coverage you won't get anywhere else. Find Sarasota. Sarasota, Florida, where white sand beaches, luxury condos, and coastal charm once promised paradise. But in 2025, this high-end haven has a serious housing hangover. Housing inventory has more than doubled, soaring past 3,700 homes on the market. That translates to more listings, more waiting, and more sellers sweating. Homes once listed at $1.2 million are now languishing at $975,000 and still not selling. Zillow even named Sarasota one of the most overvalued cities in Florida, and now the real estate market is feeling the brutal heat of that housing bubble. Mortgage rates near 6.75% are forcing even luxury buyers to slam the brakes. The cash is drying up, and demand is retreating. Out-of-state buyers, once the lifeblood of Sarasota's growth, have pulled back hard. And the cost of simply owning a home here? It's ballooned. Waterfront property insurance now averages $8,000 to $10,000 per year, enough to make even seasoned snowbirds think twice. Here's the kicker: homes are now sitting for an average of 91 days. That's nearly triple what it was in 2022. Realtors are cutting home prices, hosting empty open houses and offering perks, but still the market has gone eerily quiet. Sarasota still looks like a dream, but in 2025, that dream comes with a prominent housing crash warning sign. Want to know which luxury markets are next? Subscribe to Housing Crash Channel, because staying informed now could save you thousands later. 4. Port St. Lucie. Port St. Lucie, a pandemic superstar that has rapidly transformed into a housing cautionary tale. Back in 2021, this coastal escape saw buyers flood in from New York, New Jersey, and beyond. But now, reality is catching up fast. Home values in Port St. Lucie are a whopping 41% above long-term fundamentals, according to Florida Atlantic University. Median home prices hover around $410,000. Yet the average household income is only $62,000. That's a massive affordability crisis, a ticking time bomb for the real estate market. Housing inventory is up 35%, with even more new construction still hitting the market, and demand is slipping away. Homes that were listed at $430,000 just a year ago now sit at $360,000, and sellers are offering everything from free appliances to closing cost credits just to spark a flicker of interest. But price isn't the only problem. The city's infrastructure simply cannot keep up. Schools are overcrowded, roads are clogged, and utilities are strained. That growth boom came too fast, too soon. And like everywhere else in Florida, insurance is crushing affordability. Waterfront homes now cost between $6,500 and $8,000 per year to insure, if you can even find a provider. Port St. Lucie's dream of being Florida's best-kept secret in 2025. It's slipping into a full-blown housing crash correction mode. For more real-time breakdowns of markets on the edge, don't forget to subscribe to Housing Crash Channel. We're watching the numbers, so you don't get caught by surprise. 3. Fort Myers. Fort Myers, once a poster child for Florida's real estate boom, is now front and center in the bust. From 2022 to 2024, this Gulf Coast gem exploded in popularity. Home prices soared by more than 65%, and homes were being snapped up at lightning speed. But in 2025, that momentum has vanished. Home prices have dropped 6% year over year, and housing inventory has ballooned from 3,200 to over 5,000 active listings. The average home is now sitting on the market for 60-plus days. Sellers are growing anxious, agents are slashing prices. The heat is gone, and the cool down is undeniably real. Then came the catastrophic fallout from Hurricane Ian. The insurance market has been shattered. Today, homeowners in Fort Myers are paying between $9,000 and $11,000 annually, even in non-flood zones. Investors who flooded the housing market just 2 years ago are now running for the exits. Vacation bookings are down, Airbnb occupancy is slipping, and many short-term rental owners are dumping properties below market value just to cut their losses. Meanwhile, the local economy hasn't kept up. Median incomes are still below $60,000, making it nearly impossible for everyday families to afford homes that are still priced like it's 2022. Fort Myers still has sunshine, but its housing market in 2025 is under a heavy cloud, and the correction of this housing market crash has only just begun. Stay ahead of the market storm. Subscribe to Housing Crash Channel, because when the data changes, your strategy should too. Twain, St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg, better known as St. Pete, has always been Florida's cool kid on the coast. Colorful murals, laid-back beach vibes, and a booming art scene made it a magnet for millennials, retirees, and Airbnb dreamers. But in 2025, that magnetic pull is fading fast. Housing inventory has doubled, surging past 5,600 active listings, the highest in nearly 8 years. Sellers are feeling the immense squeeze. 1 in every 4 homes listed right now has already had a price cut. Median home prices have dropped from $450,000 to $390,000, and they're still sitting for an average of 48 days on the market, more than double the pace from just 2 years ago. It's not just regular homeowners feeling the heat. Investors are pulling out, Airbnb operators are facing oversaturated rental markets, and plummeting rates the once thriving short-term rental scene losing steam fast. The real nail in the coffin: insurance. Flood risks along Tampa Bay have driven premiums up 60 to 70%, with many waterfront homes now costing $10,000 or more per year to insure. Some providers have simply stopped writing new policies altogether. Wages in St. Pete still hover under $58,000, making homeownership a brutal stretch for locals. And even the influx of remote workers is slowing. What was once a hot rising city now faces a serious housing crash correction. The party in St. Pete isn't over, but it's definitely winding down. Want to know where Florida's next downturn is headed? Subscribe to Housing Crash Channel and get ahead of the crash before the headlines catch up. 1. Lakeland. Lakeland, Florida, the city that burned the brightest and is now extinguishing fastest. Nestled between Tampa and Orlando, Lakeland was once seen as the affordable golden child of Central Florida real estate. But in 2025, it has become the undeniable epicenter of Florida's housing correction. Housing inventory has spiked by 60%, with over 4,800 active listings in a city of just 115,000 people. That's 1 home for sale for every 24 residents. A stunning oversupply signaling a bursting housing bubble. Home prices are slipping 2 to 4% per month, and the fall is far from over. Builders drastically overestimated demand and flooded the suburbs with new construction. Now there are crickets. What's even more concerning is that 31% of homes on the market are investor-owned. And those investors, they're panic selling, slashing home prices just to offload properties before the market drops further. Insurance costs have surged 40%, with basic coverage now $4,000 to $5,500 annually, even in non-flood zones. Meanwhile, job growth has stalled. Lakeland's economy relies heavily on warehousing and trucking sectors, which are slowing nationwide. As freight volumes drop, so do incomes, relocations, and housing demand. What you're witnessing in Lakeland isn't just a soft landing. It's a housing crash in slow motion, and the city's real estate market is holding its breath. In 2025, Lakeland isn't just a cautionary tale. It's the poster child for Florida's unraveling housing boom. Don't get caught off guard. Subscribe to Housing Crash Channel. We're tracking every market crash and trend before it hits your neighborhood. these aren't just slowdowns, they're flashing red alerts across the state. From luxury housing bubbles in Sarasota to investor panic in Lakeland, Florida's housing market is under unprecedented pressure. Whether you're a buyer, seller, renter, or just watching from the sidelines, 2025 is the year to stay sharp, stay informed, and stay ready. Because this isn't just a Florida story, this is a nationwide shift in motion. Tap subscribe to Housing Crash Channel and join the only channel breaking down real estate trends, housing crashes, and economic shakeups with facts, data, and zero fluff. The market is moving. Are you ready to move with it?